let's just have stories of hope. And so I've invited some folk to come and just share. Michael. So we lived in a mobile home park, and across the street from us lived Michael with his legal guardian, Brenda, and grandma. And so the picture on the left is with my son and Michael. And then the other picture is Michael with my daughter, Jennifer, Angelica. And that's a kid, I guess, who lived across the street. I don't even know who that is. And then my son, David. So they played together as friends. And then tragically, Brenda passed away when Michael, how old was Brenda when she passed away?
I think she was 42, I believe.
And how old were you?
I was 8 years
He
old.
was 8. So that put Michael back into the foster care system and all of that. And my wife and I, we really seriously, and we've adopted 5 kids. So we seriously considered bringing Michael into our family, but just felt like it wasn't the best thing. So Michael went into another foster home. And then life goes on, and then I'm down at First Baptist Southgate for some youth event. There's Michael. Michael, what are you doing at First Baptist Church of Southgate? And there was a family in that church that had some of his siblings. And so he became a part of that family and was so well cared for. And that's where Michael fell in love with pupusas and Salvadoran food. So Michael, I invited to come and share his story of being raised in foster care, and Michael's doing so well now. So just share a little bit of your story, Michael, and get us started off.
Absolutely. I'm gonna try to keep it compact into the 5 to 8 minutes, but thank you for having me.
The movie will be longer.
Right. The book and the movie. But yeah, my name is Michael, Mike Jelks, whatever you prefer. I am a former foster youth. I am a hip hop artist. I am a father, and I'm a husband. And more importantly, I'm a storyteller. Like Doug said, my journey started in foster care, and it kind of started with this sense of people who came before me sowing a seed of hope so that way I can be okay. And that in turn sowed, that seed of hope grew in me and helped me to become who I am today. I was in foster care my entire life, from 6 months to when I emancipated at 19. And it all started with my biological mother, Cosette. She wasn't able to keep me. I was born in a parking lot at a hospital, and she was on drugs and a lifestyle that wasn't just productive for me to be in. So I went straight to the hospital, and 6 months after, Brenda took me in. And it was, again, Brenda. I can only imagine if Brenda didn't take me in, where I would have ended up. So I lived with Brenda for 8 years of my life, and she was everything. She raised me. Her and her mother raised me. She was my mom. She was my entire world. And with Brenda, because of the drugs that my biological mother was doing, I had a lot of issues as an infant. There was a lot of crack in my system. I had a lot of brain damage. So I had a lot of problems. I gave Brenda a hard time those first couple of years due to the things going on in me that I had no control over. I remember being on Ritalin and all these other kind of drugs to keep me calm. I remember Brenda telling me, and some of her other family telling me, that as a child that I was told that I would never be able to learn normally, quote unquote, or read normally, or do any of those things. So Brenda did her best and took care of me. I remember another point in time with Brenda where I guess I couldn't walk right. So I had to go and get plastic braces on my legs. So, and again, I was told by the doctors and the community that I wouldn't be able to run or play sports like everyone else. So from a very young age, I had limiters set on my life based upon my circumstances and my environment. But despite all of that, Brenda had hope. She loved me. She gave me unconditional love. And when she passed away when I was 8 years old, it devastated me. And I became a little bit more aware of my surroundings as a foster youth. I was always labeled that. And I started to move to a couple different homes that kind of heightened that sense of awareness. And I believe it started me on a journey of like trying to find my way in life and reconcile what had happened to me. And the loss of my mother, Brenda. I moved to a couple different homes, and the funny thing was the Hubbards were across the street. They were a great family, and whatever home I went to, there was some type of connection with the Hubbards. Somehow, when I moved with a family called the Hoopers, they took me to this thing I had never heard of called Awana, and I think through some Christmas parties, the Hubbards and the Hoopers knew each other. So it was comforting to see that the hand of God was still following me despite this, these trials I was going through. And Brenda was a white lady, and so were the Hoopers. So I started becoming super aware of my skin tone and just not really liking who I was because of my environment. So I just didn't really feel like I fit in despite the families that loved me. So after the Hoopers, I moved to another family, and it was my first Black family. And I thought to myself, hey, I could finally get a chance to fit in with other kids in the community. And when I got there, I wasn't Black enough. I didn't dress the same way as a community. So again, I found myself being ostracized by the community and even some of the family members. And I went through some stuff there where I was touched by another girl in the home I was in, requested to go back to the Hoopers. And then after the Hoopers, I moved to Southgate, where some of my biological siblings lived. And this is where Doug seen me at First Baptist Church. And again, this family that I lived with there, they were Salvadorian, and the community was a predominantly Hispanic community. So being a Black kid, only Black kid in my school, it was rough for me because I still kept moving around feeling like I don't have a place in this life, in this world. And I started really not developing self-hate in me. So I grew up there. Again, the family loved me the best that they could. I took on the culture. I learned Spanish by going to an all Hispanic church and by just reading a Spanish Bible, and just, my foster parents there taking me in and speaking Spanish to me. And when I was 16, there was a lot of things going on in my life. My brothers and sisters were in and out of jail and doing things. My family were living a life in church that they weren't living at home. My friends in high school, they were going into things that I could have easily gone to as well. And I was 16, and I was like, God, like, if there's more than what I'm seeing, I need you to show me, because I feel like I'm drowning in the sense of a lack of identity and all these things. And in that, I found a sense of faith that became my hope. And that started to carry me throughout my journey. And I started to see that the communities that I had been a part of had birthed this sense of faith and given me a new perspective and a vision on life. So I finished my time in Southgate. And again, I was about 18, 19, and I was emancipated from the system, and my family was ready to push me out of the nest even before I felt like I was ready. And again, I couldn't understand, like, why am I a Black kid that knows Spanish and I get made fun of by the other Black kids? Why am I all these things? And God and this faith began to show me that it's not that I didn't fit into everywhere I was. It was that God purposely set me on a course so that way all these different cultures and all these stories and all these people who came before me would mesh well. And it just kind of made me unique in a way. And I started to embrace my identity more. And I fell in love with music. I started writing to kind of cope with some of the trauma that I was going through. I started performing, and that kind of helped me to pay forward what was done for me, which was sow seeds of hope before people can actually see. I always had a thing where I would say that I have to see this vision of faith before I actually see it. And that was something that I started to put into my music. I'm talking about my traumas and all the things that I went through. And I saw that it was healing people and helping people. So I just wanted to bring hope to my community and society and my family and break the generational cycle that I was told that I was, as a foster kid, I was either supposed to be in jail, homeless, or dead. And I was beating those statistics by the grace of God. And it was by the grace of the communities that I found family within. Long story short, a very vital piece of this story is that when I was in a transitional housing program after I left Southgate, my first one, I went there my first day and I did this piece, this music piece that I had wrote, and it got this young lady's attention that was in the orientation with me. And we became really good friends off this creative piece. And we became best friends, and we were best friends for 5 years until I decided that I wanted to date her. And then we ended up getting married. And my wife, Danielle, today, we have a daughter and are trying to break that cycle. We both grew up in foster care, and we're both creatives, and we're both still trying to figure out what this whole thing is supposed to look like. But because we were both given hope through our faith and through people, we continue to try to pay it forward. I now do music and put on events and try to give back. This year, we're doing a toy drive event and try to give back to foster kids who may be in need. And it all comes from this sense of what Brenda did and what even my biological mother, Cosette, did, which is she gave me up knowing that the situation that she had wasn't best for me, but it was the best decision for me, because if I would have stayed with her, I probably would have ended up just like a lot of my peers in foster care did. And I'm so grateful for the sacrifices that people before me came and made. And I want to continue to be hope and an inspiration through my story. And hopefully my daughter will grow up one day and she will do the same. Did I say in the 5 minutes?
You did. Okay. That's amazing. And so the movie will be longer.
Yeah, definitely.
You said you're actually working on something, right?
Yeah, working on a script of sorts, and more importantly, a book first, but then like a script. So yeah.
Oh. And maybe you can put in the chat a link to your video or videos or the things that you're doing. And man, I am so blessed, because here's this playmate of my kids growing up and just seeing how God has had his hand on you through these years. And yeah, you could have ended up a real mess, and God has taken that mess and made something beautiful. And just to be at your wedding and to see the joy was such a beautiful thing. So
it's amazing.
See God just loving you and touching you and taking care of you, and man, you're going to continue to do great things. So thank you, Michael, for serving. And he serves with homeless youth in West Hollywood, and just continues to give back as long and trying to get the music career going. So thank you, Michael, for taking some time to be with us today. And if you need to go to work or all that,
I got a little bit more time, so I'll try to hang around and hear the other stories. But thank you, Doug.
That is a beautiful way for us to start our stories of hope. And now Pastor Melvin has been through a journey that reminds us of hope. So Pastor Melvin, pastor of First Baptist Church in Maywood, share with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. That was a beautiful story. Around this time in 2016, I was walking to the shower and I fainted. I didn't know what was going on with me. When I realized that I was on the floor and I was conscious, I told my wife what happened, and she said, we should go to the doctor to see what is going on. And we went, and we had some blood tests done in our body, in my body. And in January, the first week of January, I went to see the doctor to see the results of the test. And he said, you have anemia, and the amount of blood you have in your body is half of what you're supposed to be having. There must be some type of loss of blood in your body, and we don't know what it is. It usually is in the colon or maybe in your stomach. So we're going to do a colonoscopy to see if you are bleeding somewhere inside. And by the end of January, I did the colonoscopy. And when I woke up, I saw a lot of doctors around my bed. And one of them said, bad news. We found a 7 to 8 inch tumor in your colon. And by the color of it, it's cancer. 95% is cancer. And we need to do surgery. So I had some blood transfusion done in that occasion. I had surgery. When I woke up, the next morning, I remember it was Sunday morning, I was so depressed, so down, thinking that I was going to die. And asking the Lord, why is that happening to me? And that morning, I remember it was around 9 a.m. one Sunday in 2017. I pray, And I said, Lord, please, I need you to speak to me. Tell me a word of encouragement. I need somebody to tell me today what is going on. And I was already making plans of dying and leaving my home ready before I died. And I started changing channels in the hospital. I was in San Antonio Community Hospital right here in Upland. And it was Sunday, and there were no Christian channels or Christian programs in regular TV. Finally, I found one in Channel 9. It was a live transmission from Texas, from Houston. And that day, that preacher started preaching about that moment when Isaiah went to the palace of King Hezekiah and told him, set your house in order because you're going to die. And then he left. And when he left, Hezekiah started praying, crying, Lord, please give me some more time. I don't want to die right now. And that day, the prophet came back. God told him, go back and tell him that I'm going to give you 15 more years. And he went and told him. And the preacher was explaining about that story, that narrative. And at the end of the sermon, he was preaching live that day. He looked at the camera and he said, there is somebody in a hospital who asked the Lord to give him a word today. And for you who are there, waiting for this word of hope, I want to tell you that the same God that healed Hezekiah is going to heal you. That the same God that made that miracle, that worked on that miracle, is going to work a miracle in you. And he's not only going to heal you, but he's going to put in your hands a greater ministry, a larger ministry. What you have done in your life is not what the Lord has for you. He even has greater things for you. And then he hung up, he finished the preaching. I started crying. And that gave me a lot of hope. But a few weeks later, I went to do some other tests. They said we need to look at the chest to see how everything is going. And when I went back after the results, the doctor said, bad news again. Even we have removed the tumor from the colon. Now we found that you have cancer in your left lung. You have 2 tumors there. You have cancer in your throat and in your abdominal area. You have 3 years to live if you are strong enough. So at least give thanks to God, give thanks to God, because you have some time to prepare you home. You can live things slowly and enjoy the most that you can these 3 years. That day when we left the clinic, we started crying in the car with my wife, saying, wow, I am going to die. And I went to all these treatments, chemo, praying. A lot of people were praying for me at church in different places. I shared that on Facebook and different social media, and people started praying for me. When the 3 years came, the doctor said, we need to do some tests. You need to do a PET scan and then a CT scan to see how things are going on. And after a few days, I went back to see the results. And he said, I really don't know what you have been doing, but there is no more cancer in the lung. There is no more cancer in your throat. And there is no more cancer in your abdominal area. My wife said, we know what we've been doing. We've been praying. And the Lord has worked a miracle. And that day, the doctor said, well, you are going to live a lot more years. That day, we cried in the clinic. And this January is going to be 5 years since they gave me that diagnostic. And I'm healthier. When the doctor sees me, every time I see him, because I go at least once a month, he says, you even look better than me. And there was a verse that I read during those moments, and it was that word that Jesus gave in John chapter 11, when they told him that Lazarus had died. And he said this death or this sickness wasn't for him to remain dead. It is for the glory of the Lord. And that day, the Lord told me, what you've been through is for the glory of the Lord. And I want you to tell everybody, anywhere that you go, every opportunity that you have been healed by the Lord. And that we have given you some more time, some more years to live, because I have something great for you. At the beginning of this year, Alberto Motesi, this great evangelist from Latin America, is one of the best known in Latin America. He called me and he said, I know that the Lord has healed you. And that's why I've been calling you. And we want you to come and work for us, because we have this vision to reach, to train 10 million people in the world so they can share the gospel. And after some months of prayer, I accepted that position. I went to the university. And a few days later, when I was sitting at a desk in my office, I was thinking, what am I doing here? Why is it that the Lord wants me here? And then I saw a flyer on my table that said, we are here to train 10 million evangelists to share the gospel in the world. In that moment, the Lord gave me a vision to create some training for people to reach millions of people in the world. And we created this training with some of the best evangelists or people who have experience evangelizing in cities in Latin America and also in the United States. And I called some of the leaders in Mexico about 3 months ago, and I showed them the vision, the training. And he said, we like that. We want to do that. And starting this year in Mexico, all the 32 states of Mexico are going to adopt the training that we have. And they have the vision of evangelizing and reaching 1 million families for Christ. When I see that, I remember that moment when I was in that hospital, when the Lord said through that preacher, I am going to heal you because I'm going to give you something greater. I'm going to put something greater in your hands. And the healing is just going to be a reminder that there is a powerful God, a greater Lord that is with you. And anytime that you feel that you don't have this power, or you feel that you're feeling lonely and you think that you cannot do it, just remember that the God who healed you is the God who is with you, and he's going to do greater things. So in this time of hope, what I want to share with you is that we have a God who works miracles. The same Jesus who walked in the streets of Galilee and also in Jerusalem is the one that is with us, and he's powerful, and he's still working miracles in our lives. Amen.
Oh, thank you, Melvin. That's beautiful. And the thing Melvin didn't share is his advocacy and work with the immigration issue and advocating for people that are in detainment and pastors and being a voice for justice in the immigration system and being conciliatory, really trying to work with people all over the place. So in addition to your work of evangelism, your pastoring and your work in immigration, God is just using you and Ada in beautiful ways. And it's beautiful to see. We've known each other since I first came to LA. Melvin and Ada and I connected, and it's just wonderful to be in this journey with you.
I've been 40 years with American Baptist Churches since I came in 1980, and I'm proud of it.
Great. You're a part of the family. Story of hope is Ehhtoowah, who is a part of the Arizona Korean Baptist Church, one of the leaders there, and known Ehhtoowah for a number of years. And what a bright light you are in ministry. And so share with us a little bit of your story, Ehhtoowah.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I just want to say Thank you for sharing your story, Laura, Pastor Valentine, and Mike. I think he left. That was powerful. I think, I don't know about you guys, but I think we all needed that story today. So I really appreciate it. And man, praise God, praise God. Well, my name is Ehhtoowah, and I'm gonna try to keep it 5 minutes. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but I'm a pastor in Arizona Baptist Church, and I think this is my second year. Yeah. I'm Korean. Some of you guys already know my story. Some of you might not. So I'm from Burma or Myanmar right now. And I am one of the ethnic group who live in Burma or Myanmar that doesn't have a country, or we don't have any like citizenship anywhere. And Civil War started since 1947. You know, long story short, I became refugee since 1997. Lived in refugee camp for 10 years. It was terrible, and grew up there. After 10 years, by the grace of God, we get a chance to relocate in our American. So today is about sharing the testimony of hope. And we heard news about what happened in Myanmar early this year, and it started to cool it down. But the sad thing is, we don't see it in TV or social media anymore, but it get worse. It get like a lot worse. It just nobody talk about it. We don't see it in the news. Not anymore in social media. People started in a little bit when it started, but now it's getting worse. To the point where, I mean, everybody just in fear. You can walk around in the city and maybe you could step on the bomb, and that could be your last day. Or you could walk around and you can go to the store and you got arrested, and your parent or your family might not see you anymore. So, and then we look at COVID and other disease. It's just so, we're in such a sad and depressing, like kind of like season of life, I guess. But I turn around and I look at the world and see that many people come to Christ because of all of these crises. And that's gave me hope, you know, because seeing that our people are persecuted, a lot of people are going through hell. But even though when they are in tears, we still see our people in the jungle running every day and praising God. And that just gave me hope, you know, that just gave me hope. I don't know if I could do that every day like they're doing it right now, but it just gave me hope because for me, I'm so blessed. I don't have to run anymore. I have air conditioning, like, you know, I have a car, I could go anywhere, food on my tables and everything. But they had to run every day, hide every day. And we still see some video that they send it to us that they are praising God, even though they have like people send them salt or maybe rice or maybe like, yeah. So it just gave me hope and gave me hope that, you know what, I remember Paul was in prison and he was praising God. And I feel like that's kind of exactly what is happening right now in Myanmar or in other countries too. So that is kind of like, it gave me a lot of hope to see that a lot of people, even though COVID hit, we lose some people in our congregation. In a lot of Korean congregation, we lose a lot of pastor too, because our pastor, we take a lot of risk by visiting people, like taking people to hospital, like bringing people food to their house. And sometimes pastor I guess they got COVID from the people, and we have a lot of people, a lot of pastors that pass away. We thank God because they're in a better place right now, but at the same time, as human being, we sad too. But at the same time, we see a lot of Korean people started to become, at least they're coming back closer to God. So that's gave me hope. And the last thing that I want to share is, I used to play, I don't know if you guys know, but League of Legends, like computer game. And I got kind of addicted to it. I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I got addicted. Like I was like, I have to play at least a couple games a day, you know, like that. I'll get to it at that point. I thank God that I never do drug, never smoke, never drink. But somehow I started to play that game for a couple, like little did I know I got addicted to the game, and I play all night. Sometimes I have to play every day. Then I was like, okay, my God, if you want me to live for you, please set me free. Because I try my best to not play, and I cannot do it. So I get on my knee, I pray. And after that, a couple of weeks later, I don't want to play that game anymore. So God set me free, you know. And the verse that remind me, you know, that Jesus told, you know, his disciple on John 8:31 and 32. You are truly my disciple if you remain faithful to my teaching, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And I truly believe that because of COVID, because of depression, because of all of these things that are happening in the world right now, we are very isolated, and a lot of kids are addicted to something. A lot of us addicted to something. And even myself, I sometimes call myself using a lot of my phone and computer and giving myself excuse that, oh, you know what, because you had to be on meeting, because you had to, you know, like look at this. And I had to be careful with that too. So when I was addicted to computer game, like I think about a year, I cannot go on without playing a game a day. But after God set me free, I am totally free. And, you know, I'm able to say that we could get help in this system, but the only thing that we could set us free is when we know the truth. And I know that God could set us free. And I don't know if you have any, maybe it doesn't have to be drug, or it doesn't have to be game. It could be something in our life that we could be coffee. I don't know. Okay, I'm just saying, but something that we put more time than we spend with God. It could be something that, you know, addicted to us. So I just want to say that there is hope in Jesus Christ, and especially this is Christmas. You know, Jesus is our hope. You know, he said he is the only way, true, and life. So I'm very grateful and thankful that I'm set free, and I get to share this testimony with my youth and young adults. And we started to see kids are able to open up, and started to see revival in our youth. And I mean, we're very grateful for that. So despite all of these things that are happening in the world right now, I see a lot of people turn to God. A lot of people are praising God, even though they are in such a horrible and terrible situation. They are praising God. So those give me hope. So today, my story is, you know, not like your story, but I truly believe that all of our story are very unique, and God is wanting to use all of our story for His glory. So thank you for letting me share. And if you wanted to know me more, my Facebook name is Ehhtoowah. I'm friend with Doug, and that is my story.
Thank you, Ehhtoowah, for sharing. I've been to your church several times, and been a blessing every time to see how God is using you in the torturous heat of Arizona. So blessings on you. So our last person is Cindy Darby. She is a hospice chaplain. And I thought, wow, hope and hospice and death. There's hope in the middle of that too. So Cindy's gonna close us out in our story sharing, and we look forward to hearing from you, Cindy.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you to those who shared before me. Yeah, when a person thinks about work in hospice, it's not the first thing that comes to your mind, oh, it'll be such a meaningful, rewarding experience. Mostly it's kind of the perception is, oh, that sounds so sad. Sure you want to do that? Or you, why do you think that would be a place to work or something? And of course, I don't think anybody grows up thinking, oh, I want to be a hospice chaplain when I grow up. It's like most people don't think they want to be a funeral director or some, work in death and dying. But it has actually become very meaningful. And I discovered that early on. First, I was a hospital chaplain and then a hospice chaplain. And it has been such an opportunity to meet with people who are at the end of their life and are open to reflecting on their life in a way that they hadn't before. And they may not have even shared with those in their family or their closest friends. It's an opportunity to reflect on their life if they choose to, and kind of cherish the moments that have been happy for them. Perhaps it was their family life, maybe having having children, getting married, or special trips that they've taken in their life, or ways that they've been successful or served others, have made a better life for others. So I have really appreciated the opportunity to walk with them as they reflected on the highlights of their life. And the other side of that is that they also have the opportunity and feel more motivated to share about the painful aspects of their life's journey. Perhaps they had a falling out, someone who was close to them. And it's an opportunity to work with them to come to some peace, a solution, whether it's by reaching out and connecting with that person again, or maybe it's the inner work that they need to do. Maybe it just wouldn't work for them to reconnect in their relationship with that person, but they can go inside and connect with that part of them that wants healing, connect with God, work to restore their emotional well-being. We don't often associate hospice with healing because we often think of the physical aspects of a person whose their biological body is declining, but it's certainly an opportunity for growth in their emotional and spiritual. So I've had the opportunity to help people, companion them as they work through those challenges that they've faced, and come to a greater sense of God's love for them, and their love for themselves, and their love for their friends. So in that moment where they're no longer busy doing things in their life, going hiking or being responsible for other people, they have that special opportunity to work on what's most important and what feels like a priority at that point. So I've found it a very enriching opportunity to help people. And I'm really glad that I've had this experience of being both a hospice chaplain and a hospice chaplain. And currently I'm the bereavement supervisor with Banner Hospice. So that's even additional opportunities to help people in their emotional healing, to go from a place where they feel trapped with intense emotions or loneliness, and help them in a step-by-step approach to feeling more complete with everything that happened and didn't happen in their life, so that they can move forward with a sense of hope and more participation in their daily life.
Well, thank you, Cindy. And Cindy is also the pastor of the Monte Vista Multicultural Church. Their group gathers every Sunday and has a wonderful model for small churches. They gather and sing a few songs, watch a video, have a discussion. They eat good. I visited you all in Phoenix on the end of my trip in August, and it was a blessing to be with you. And every time I come, I'm so blessed to be there and to share with you. So thank you for letting God use you to be there for people, your congregation, as well as those who are at the end of life. Well, we've
Thank
kind
you,
of
Doug. It's Monte Vista Baptist Church that I'm
Yeah,
the pastor of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.